Good evening, everyone. It's Sunday, March 1st, 2026. Hope you all are staying safe out there, staying vigilant. There was a terrorist attack, it would seem, in Austin, Texas, in response to our attack on Iran. So keep your head on a swivel when you're out in public in the coming days. Don't forget, the Democrats, they shut down the Department of Homeland Security. It's still technically functioning, although they don't have the funding they normally would. So anyway, it seems that the world is at war. And if you believe that to be the case, you're technically right. In addition to Iran now firing at 11 different countries, we also have the conflict between India and Pakistan that might break out again at any time. Also, there's Thailand and Cambodia. They may be going to war. That could be breaking out any minute. There's also a civil war in Myanmar or Burma, same thing. Ukraine and Russia, that war is ongoing. There was a major Russian port that was just bombed by Ukraine. And Pakistan, they are at war with Afghanistan right now. Also, there's several European countries that are now in conflict with Iran after the U.S. and Israel engaged in attacks against Iran. And the U.S., we still have a military presence in the Caribbean due to Venezuela, even though we're not attacking or engaging with Venezuela militarily. But we do still have a military presence off the coast of Venezuela, especially as we make certain moves on Cuba, diplomatically for the moment. But it could come with a military presence in some way, shape, or form in the near future. But with all these conflicts that are officially breaking out, the only major power that isn't really at war today, it would seem, is China. So that's kind of interesting. But in the meantime, this video will focus on the conflict between the U.S. and Iran because a ton is happening right now. There is so much to cover, so don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for daily updates that you probably won't find in the mainstream media. If you drop a comment, I might just read it during tomorrow's episode, The Swamp, which I do Monday through Friday. And by the way, any article that I may come across in this video will be linked down below in the description. And the highlight clips from tonight will begin dropping on this channel tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Eastern. And we are going to kick things off with a message from President Donald J. Trump. All of these videos that I have in this episode tonight, I haven't watched any of them in their entirety. There was so much going on today. I think I've got like 80 posts in total to get through. Lots and lots of different content with regard to the situation with U.S. and Israel versus Iran. A lot of other countries involved, as I already said. So we're going to start right here with President Trump. Let's see what he says.
Over the past 36 hours, the United States and its partners have launched Operation Epic Fury, one of the largest, most complex, most overwhelming military offensives the world has ever seen. Nobody's seen anything like it. We have hit hundreds of targets in Iran, including Revolutionary Guard facilities, Iranian air defense systems. Just now it was announced that we knocked out 9 ships plus their naval building, all in a matter of literally minutes.
9
Iran's
ships, let's
formerly
go.
Supreme Leader,
That's what he said he wanted to do. Take out the Iranian Navy.
Is dead. This wretched
He's
and
dead.
vile man,
The Supreme Leader,
had the
He's
blood
dead.
of hundreds and even thousands of Americans.
Oh, you know what? By the way, I wish I grabbed this clip. I did see a YouTube short earlier from Patrick Bet David. He runs Valuetainment. He's a very well-known podcaster. You've probably heard of him. He gave his take on the death of the Supreme Leader of Iran and how significant that is. He compared that to 1989 when the last one died. He wasn't killed in 1989. He died back then, but Patrick lived in Iran when that happened, and he described how chaotic it was back then and compared it to how chaotic it will most likely be this time around. And he said it's not as simple as just simply replacing him with another person. Like if the president is taken out, you replace him with the vice president immediately. He said a lot of people view this supreme leader as something like the Iranian version of what we would consider the Pope as far as Catholicism goes. Like, he's not just a nation's leader, he's a religious leader. He's second to God himself, according to the Iranian regime. So it really like hits them really hard, and as far as their religion goes, their culture. And again, we're not talking all Iranians. Apparently 81% of Iranians they absolutely hate the supreme leadership. They hate the Islamic Republic, hate them with a passion. So anyway, let's
on his
continue.
hands and was responsible for the slaughter of countless thousands of innocent people all across many countries. Last night, all over Iran, the voices of the Iranian people could be heard cheering and celebrating in the streets when his death was announced.
And that was confirmed by Iran, by the way.
Is gone as well.
Iran officials confirmed,
and many of them
death.
want to surrender into saving their lives. They want immunity. They're calling by the thousands. Combat operations continue at this time in full force.
Yeah, I don't want to just brush that over, what he said. Thousands of officials, military personnel, and so on in Iran have been calling the United States. I'm not sure in what way or another. I don't know what phone numbers that they're contacting or how they're contacting them, but apparently they're reaching out to the United States in any way they can, looking to take up Trump's offer for immunity.
And they will continue until all of our objectives are achieved. We have very strong objectives. They could have done something 2 weeks ago, but they just couldn't get there. Earlier today, CENTCOM shared the news that 3 U.S. military service members have been killed in action.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
As one nation, we grieve for the true American patriots who have made the ultimate sacrifice for our nation, even as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. We pray for the full recovery of the wounded and send our immense love and eternal gratitude to the families of the fallen. And sadly, there will likely be more. Before it ends, that's the way it is. Likely be more, but we'll do everything possible where that won't be the case. But America will avenge their deaths and deliver the most punishing blow to the terrorists who have waged war against basically civilization. They have waged war against civilization itself. Our resolve, and likewise that of Israel, has never been stronger. America is now, again, the richest, most powerful nation in the world by far. But the only reason we enjoy the quality of life that we do and the freedom and security is we have done things that others are unable to do. But it's because of warriors who are willing to lay down their lives to do battle with our enemies. And they do battle better than anybody. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be a dire threat to every American. We cannot allow a nation that raises terrorist armies to possess such weapons that would allow them to extort the world to their evil will. Not going to let it happen. We're not happening to us, and we're not going to let it happen to others. The United States has the strongest military the world has ever seen. I rebuilt our military in my first term. There's never been a military like we possess. And frankly, there's nobody even close, but we are now using that military for good. We want to have it for good purpose. We're undertaking this massive operation not merely to ensure security for our own time and place, but for our children and their children, just as our ancestors have done for us many, many years ago. This is the duty and the burden of a free people. These actions are right and they are necessary to ensure that Americans will never have to face a radical, bloodthirsty terrorist regime armed with nuclear weapons and lots of threats. For almost 50 years, these wicked extremists have been attacking the United States while chanting the slogan, "Death to America" or "Death to Israel," or both. They are the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. We are the world's greatest and most powerful nation, so we can do something about what they do. These intolerable threats will not continue any longer. I once again urge the Revolutionary Guard, the Iranian military, police, to lay down your arms and receive full immunity or face certain death. It will be certain death. Won't be pretty. I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment, to be brave, be bold, be heroic, and take back your country. America is with you. I made a promise to you, and I fulfilled that promise. The rest will be up to you, but we'll be there to help. Thank you. God bless you to our incredible warriors, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
God bless America from the White House, from President Trump. And by the way, when I say it's about damn time, I mean, look, they've been sponsoring terrorism for decades. I'm not in favor of a full-on invasion of Iran. Perhaps if it only lasts maybe a week, similar to other military operations that we have done this year or last year, then okay, maybe. But you know what? I'm just going to save my opinions for the end of the video. I don't want to get into all that right now. But anyway, China depends on Iran quite heavily for oil and gas, as far as I understand. And I imagine other BRICS nations do as well. So that's just another piece on the chessboard. And also, we're in Ramadan, at least so I'm told. And apparently, when people celebrate Ramadan, they fast, which leads me to believe that the Iranian soldiers are maybe they're physically weak, I would imagine. If they're not eating throughout the day, they're probably physically weak if they're fasting. And also, by the way, Melania Trump, the First Lady, she's heading the UN Security Council starting this week. And that couldn't come at a better time, it would seem. Talk about perfect timing, but first time a First Lady ever took the lead over the UN Security Council. So we'll have to see what comes of that. She intends to lead the effort in educating children around the world, including AI education, which she's been talking about for like all of last year. But with the Iran attack happening, she may have different items on her agenda to handle, and she may have to put education on the back burner, but maybe not. I don't know, maybe not. So this comes from the Department of State. Well, the post is from President Trump, but it was the Department of State that posted this. It's President Trump's True Social post that was posted by the Department of State, and it reads as follows. Khamenei, one of the most evil people in history, is dead. This is not only justice for the people of Iran, but for all great Americans, and whose people from many countries throughout the world that have been killed or mutilated by Khamenei and his gang of bloodthirsty thugs. He was unable to avoid our intelligence and highly sophisticated tracking systems, and working closely with Israel, there was not a thing he or the other leaders that have been killed along with him could do. This is the single greatest chance for the Iranian people to take back their country. We are hearing that many of their IRGC, military, and other security and police forces no longer want to fight and are looking for immunity from us. As I said last night, now they can have immunity. Later, they only get death. Hopefully, the IRGC and police will peacefully merge with the Iranian patriots and work together as a unit to bring back the country to the greatness it deserves. That process should soon be starting, in that not only the death of Khamenei, but the country has been, in only one day, very much destroyed and even obliterated. The heavy and pinpoint bombing, however, will continue uninterrupted throughout the week, or as long as necessary to achieve our objective of peace throughout the Middle East and indeed the world. And of course, if Trump gets exactly what it is that he's looking for, obliterating Iran, then I think that peace in the Middle East will truly be exactly that. I mean, if he can take out the Ayatollah, which I believe that they did, isn't that what the leader's called? The Caliphate, the Islamic Republic. I don't know. I'm no Iranian expert. I just know that they throw words like that around. So we've got this from the GOP, from President Trump's True Social. I have just been informed that we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships, some of them relatively large and important. We are going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea. I don't know. He probably meant to say sinking at the bottom of the sea. I don't know, whatever. In a different attack, we largely destroyed their naval headquarters. Other than that, their Navy is doing very well. President Donald J. Trump. It's a very Trump thing to say. All right, so this comes from the White House. Iran just stated that they are going to hit very hard today, harder than they have ever hit before. They better not do that, however, because if they do, we will hit them with a force that has never been seen before. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so that's all I got for President Trump's posts on his True Social, and we'll move on to U.S. Central Command. I've got, let me see, what do we got? Okay, so I've got a few others. I'm going to get to a string of U.S. Central Command posts that are going to be coming up here in just a little bit. They've been updating throughout the day, and some of them are some bangers of posts. So this one, of the first 24 hours of Operation Epic Fury, the president ordered bold action, and our brave soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, Guardians, and Coast Guardsmen are answering the call. Admiral Brad Cooper, CENTCOM commander. Let's have a quick look at this. Oh, is there no sound? Oh, there's no sound. Okay, well, I could have played that while I was reading it, but oh well. Yeah, that's all right. Just showing some images, I'm assuming over the last 24 hours of the operations. And from what I've been told, there's a whole different slew of different types of fighter jets that were used in support aircraft, like a C-17, C-130s. Actually, U.S. Central Command, they published a list of all the different aircrafts that are currently involved. So we'll get to that here in a minute. That's included with a string of other posts from Central Command that I'm going to get to. From Vivid, the U.S. and Israeli strikes are absolutely massive. You can hear the Iranians cheering. They want the Islamic regime gone. Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, we don't have sound. Hold on. Let's try that again, shall we? Wow. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holy shit. All simultaneously. Yikes, man. Okay, well, it looks like that's it for that video clip. Man, that is wild. Absolutely wild. U.S.-Israeli strikes happening. And we've got this from Bricks News. They posted this about an hour ago. U.S. and Israeli strike on Iran earlier today. Let's have a look at this. You just notice the missile? You see the missile that just came in? Right there. Boom! There is another one. And another, and another. Yeah, it doesn't seem that Iran has the defense systems that Israel has. The Iron Dome, which has been weakened, no doubt about that. Apparently hasn't been fully replenished since the 12-day conflict, 12 days war, whatever it is you want to call it. Apparently they were still in the process of replenishing that stockpile to make the Iron Dome fully at 100% again. However, they're still blocking. It's something like 85% of the missiles that are coming in, but still, that leaves like roughly 1 in 6 that are still able to get through. I think that's an average number that I read earlier. From 0 Hour 1, Iran tried to hit a United States warship and hit their own tanker. Now, again, this is on the X platform, Twitter, whatever it is you want to call it. If it's not coming from an official source, and by that I mean a gray badge, or you might consider a yellow badge also to be an official source, because that would indicate that it's a news agency of some form. When it's just a blue check, like an everyday account, like theirs or like mine or anybody else's, you just have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. And I wouldn't accept this as the gospel truth. But regardless, it got 10,000 likes, so it's circulating around a lot. And I'm sure this is not the only account with this video that's circulating around. So this very well could be actually true. I mean, it very well could be. So regardless, we'll give this a play and see what. It's only 4 seconds. I'll play it a couple of times. It looks like a massive oil tanker out there that's on fire. So there you go. And moving to Bricks News again, just in, Iranian drone strikes high-rise building in Bahrain. This was back on the 28th, so yesterday was when this was posted. This must have happened overnight last night. So let's have a look at this. See that again. I mean, that was propelled. You could hear the propeller. The kamikaze drone, I assume. Absolutely crazy, man. That was a hell of an explosion. Just a big explosion. I would assume that that is a civilian building, residential or what have you. At least it appears that way. All right, Megatron breaking large-scale American-Israeli attacks against Tehran. Here we go. Just bombs going off everywhere, man. Just carpet bombing them. Now, as the U.S. military has stated, as the Israelis have stated, they are conducting very precise precision bombings. They're not just indiscriminately knocking out just civilian buildings. Again, this whole operation is to liberate the people of Iran. They don't want to kill any civilians at all. So these are highly precise. We use satellite-guided missiles. We use, what are they called? Hellfire missiles and Tomahawk missiles, like the highest level, sophisticated technological weaponry that basically comes straight out of the future, really. I mean, that's essentially what our military is. So whatever it is that they're hitting here, it's, I would say with virtually 100% certainty that it's either a military target or it's a government target of some form or another. But again, that was in Tehran, which of course you can tell by the towering mountains in the background. And from Eli Afriat, breaking, an Iranian drone strike hit an ammunition warehouse at a U.S. base in Erbil in Iraq. Secondary explosions and a large fire were observed at the scene. I believe this was confirmed that this did indeed happen, that a U.S. base in Iraq was struck. And whether if it was an ammunition warehouse, I'm not 100% on that, although it very well could be true. All right, here we go. I mean, the quality is atrocious, but, it is what it is. What appears to be that shockwave. Okay, so there's that, and then there's a still image of the explosion itself, the secondary explosion, as the smoke plume had already been rising for some time. I'm assuming that would be the secondary explosion that went off. And protesters and police clash near U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, Iraq, and this is on Breaking 911. Holy moly, man. I want to say it was the U.S. Embassy or the U.S. Consulate in Iraq that was, they were trying to storm that building. Or no, I actually believe that was in Pakistan. In Pakistan, they tried to storm it. Now, I will be getting to that in a little bit. There's a lot of graphic footage coming out of that situation. Apparently, at least 22 Pakistanis were killed trying to take over the consulate. They were met by U.S. Marines, and they took care of business, and they obliterated quite a lot of them who were trying to storm the building. And yes, of course, there's very graphic footage that's out there, which obviously I can't show here on YouTube, but I'll show the beginning of the video where it shows them trying to break into the building. And if you want to see the rest of that, once I get to that, you can go straight to my profile. There's a direct link to my profile in the description below to my X profile. And I've got those videos that are too hot for YouTube. They're right there on my profile if that suits your fancy, if you want to watch that. So this is from Dilawar Hussein. Breaking clashes at Baghdad Green Zone. Violence has erupted at the entrance to the Green Zone as hundreds of protesters attempt to storm the U.S. Embassy. So yeah, so they were trying to storm the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad also. I was thinking of the consulate. The consulate is the one that was happening in Pakistan. The U.S. Embassy is what they were trying to storm in Iraq. I don't think that they ended up taking it over, but this is one of the videos out of there. Yep, just another angle, assuming that was the same night, probably over last night, Saturday night. From Eric Doherty, Justin, Iranian missile just made a direct hit straight onto Jerusalem. They will regret that. So again, some of the missiles are getting through the Iron Dome.
Oh my God.
Oh shit. Damn, dude.
Oh my God. Yo.
Firing up.
Yo. No way. No way. No way. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, holy fuck. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Yo. Oh. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's retarded. It actually hit right here. Oh my God.
Oh, it looks, I'm sure it was a lot closer than what it looks on camera because that explosion was almost immediate. It was probably like a block away, even though it looks like it was like a mile away. I'm sure it was way closer than it appears. So anybody who's an American watching this, be thankful that you live in America, that you've got an entire ocean separating us from them, because Israel, they're right in their backyard, man. So just be thankful. All right, world news. Just in a stunning sign, the Iranian regime is collapsing. Members of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps are reportedly fleeing en masse across the border into Afghanistan in civilian clothes, using forged passports and even shaving off their signature beards. What?
همشون دارن میرن طرف دروازه اینا همون که تا دیروز لباس پاتانشون حالا پاسپورت دست گرفتن دارن فرار میکنن ببین اون جلو
obviously at the border.
مشکلی شاشون لازم ماسک بزنن کسی نشناسه ولی معلوم است دارن میرن باور کن.
Well, maybe using the word obviously was probably not the best choice of word. It appears that it was at some border checkpoint. And from Colin Rugg, more than 20 rioters have died in Pakistan after they tried storming the U.S. consulate, according to the Washington Post. At least 22 people were killed and about 120 were wounded. Authorities say at least 22 people were killed and more than 120 wounded in clashes with police on Sunday after protesters tried to storm the U.S. consulate in the Pakistani port city of Karachi and UN offices in the north of the country, the WAPO reported. From what I read elsewhere, they were met by the U.S. Marines. So I guess it could either be the police, maybe it was the Marines. Either way, they were met with gunfire because they insisted on storming and taking over the embassy, and whoever had the firepower inside the building, they didn't let that happen, and they were unsuccessful. At least as of the last I heard a few hours ago, they weren't successful. And we'll get this video. This isn't going to have graphic stuff in it, at least it shouldn't. Okay, I don't know what that music is. I gotta mute it. There's some music that's coming up. And my long video that I did of the conflict yesterday, YouTube completely blocked my video from being uploaded because there was just a 6-second clip of some music playing. It was like some Iranian religious music, which instantly gets flagged and blocked worldwide if it appears in your YouTube video, which is nuts. So anyway, again, there's a direct link to my profile in the description if you want to take a look at the 2 additional videos that came out of this situation. Cannot show those on YouTube. Definitely can't. But anyway, from Breaking 911, newly released footage shows Tomahawk missiles being launched from the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Thomas Hudner, targeting Iranian positions in support of Operation Epic Fury. I mean, I'm sure they're just firing those things off around the clock, just one after another after another. Hey, Gene Robinson, watch this carefully. This is what modern precision warfare looks like. Footage circulating appears to show a massive penetrating strike hitting a hardened target in Tehran. The blast force is so intense it lifts 6-lane pavement and sends vehicles 100 feet scattering in the air from the shockwave. This is not a drone. This is not a warning shot. This is deep penetration ordnance designed for fortified infrastructure. If confirmed, this is strategic targeting at the highest level. Pause the video. Watch the ground reaction. Watch the overpressure wave. This is 21st century American air power. Have a look. All right. Again, with the music, it doesn't sound like it was probably copyrighted, but whatever. So you saw it come in from up here, up in the corner. It just came straight down. Just absolutely obliterated, man. That had to have killed civilians, right? That had to have. It hit, stopped traffic, for crying out loud. So some cars in the vicinity. So it does say to slow it. It did actually slow it down already. So obviously it took out this building back here. And then it looked like it came down from up here and hit from below. Yeah, it did. Anyway, enough of the freaking music. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. Paul A. Cispula, FBI announces mass shooting that occurred early Sunday morning in Austin may have links to terrorism. This comes as congressional Democrats are now blocking funding for DHS. GOP needs to send all Senate filibusters and pass DHS, or end. GOP needs to end all Senate filibusters and pass DHS funding immediately. Let's have a look.
The FBI is working in lockstep with our partners, with Austin Police Department. We have members from our evidence response team, as well as our many other specialty teams, including our digital forensics folks that are on scene, helping to address the scene and gather additional evidence. Obviously, it's still way too early in the process to determine an exact motivation, but there were indicators that on the subject and in his vehicle that indicate potential nexus to terrorism. Again, it's still too early.
It was terrorism.
To make a determination on that.
Yeah, whatever.
That's why
it was
we're
terrorism.
investigating it very closely with our partners with Austin Police Department.
Okay, and I'll show you why it was terrorism. Let's go to the next one. So Austin, Texas mass shooter, property of Allah sweater, Quran in the car, probably yelled Allahu Akbar. They are not here to assimilate. Okay, you can just read all that for yourself. I don't know how far I should be going with that on YouTube. My election is in 2 days. Vote for me. This will be your fate. Okay. Now, who is this? Valentina Gomez. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right. She's running for something, right? I don't know. Her name sounds very familiar. Anyway, this is the image of the shooter, the mass shooter, and on his hoodie, it says property of Allah. And according to people who were there, supposedly he was yelling Allahu Akbar. That's at least so I've read. I'm not sure if that's been 100% confirmed or not, but if there's several witness accounts and, separate witnesses, then I would say that would be confirmation. So that happened overnight, and they believe it was just an individual retaliating against the strikes on Iran, of course. And there's a lot of people, whether if you're conservative or if you're just an independent, a lot of people are pointing out the fact that during the Biden administration, there were thousands of Islamists that are most likely, or possibly at least radicalized, that were just let into the United States during the Biden administration, and that they expect them to number in the thousands. So with this going on, there's a lot of calls to keep your head on a swivel. Just be careful when you're out in public. If you live in a state where they either they've got constitutional carry, or if you're licensed to carry a firearm, whether concealed or not, whatever the case might be, just saying, try to keep yourself safe and those around you, your fellow community members. Okay, so we got through that. Okay, so let's go to the next topic from Gunther Eagleman. Holy crap, liberals nationwide are being triggered after Trump made it impossible to not compliment him. The look on the faces of the fake news hosts as they compliment Trump is perfect. Yeah, I'm sure it is. When is the last time you've ever heard of a country coming out and dancing because they're excited that foreign powers are attacking them? Trump took out one of the most dangerous dictators ever, which is absolutely the case. So it's about a 3-minute long video. If it's as satisfying as Gunther Eagleman indicates, these 3 minutes are going to go by pretty quick. So let's take a look.
President Trump now confirming Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was killed by U.S. and Israeli forces in a strike this morning. Iranians across the globe paying very close attention to what happens next. A lot of questions around that. CNN's Julia Vargas-Jones
Seize your country.
Los Angeles, home to one of the largest Iranian populations outside of the Middle East. You see the gathering there behind her. Julia, how is the Iranian community responding?
They look celebratory.
Grown, Jessica, over the past few hours,
Rolled up a picture of Trump.
Here, it has amassed a large number of people, and the celebration is striking. We got here just moments after initial.
Oh no, not celebration!
Of the death of Ayatollah Khamenei had just started to trickle from Iran to this diaspora community, and people were
American
jumping
flags.
in excitement, hugging each other, crying, saying that basically they've been waiting 47 years for this very
Sounds awfully
day,
similar to
Jessica.
Venezuela
Is the
now, doesn't
reason
it?
So many of them have come out here today. I want you to hear from one of them specifically his thoughts right after learning that the supreme leader of Iran was dead.
When is the last time you saw people in Israel and Iran dancing on the streets in excitement?
Wow.
And when is the last time you've ever heard of a country coming out and dancing because they're excited that foreign powers are attacking them?
Wow.
Now, the name of Reza Pahlavi has been at the tip of people's tongues here, Jessica. So these are very much people who are pro-Shah. They want to see a leadership.
The left-wing
emerge
narrative
from
is falling
Reza Pahlavi.
apart.
They're calling for him to take over the reins, and
They want so much for these people to be angry.
Is that he would then lead a temporary government and hold elections in Iran, hold a referendum in Iran, so that the people could decide what would come next for their nation.
What about the crown prince? Isn't there a crown prince of Iran that was exiled like years ago? Not the current sitting crown prince, but like his father or whatever was exiled out of Iran. Why wouldn't it be that individual who ends up taking over or reclaiming the throne or whatever it is you call it? I don't know. You know, I'm very ignorant when it comes to Iran affairs, obviously.
For a regime change and that they can take back their government. A lot of questions about how that will happen, if it can happen. Julia Vargas-Jones, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Thanks for that reporting. And thank you so much for joining me this evening.
President Trump,
we have
USA.
had a historic day here as, again, the Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, dead, along with a number of other top Iranian officials.
Oh, and Democrats are so pissed about it, too.
Israeli airstrikes this morning.
How
there
dare
are still
Trump
many
kill a
questions about
leader
what
of a
comes
country.
next. An incredible military buildup by the U.S. there in the Middle East, as we have seen retaliatory strikes
That's high up
across
in the
the Middle
atmosphere.
East as well, both in Israel,
all by the
in
plume.
Doha, in Dubai as well. So we will continue to monitor the skies. Jake Tapper is going to pick up our breaking news next. Again, thanks so much for joining me.
Oh my God, that had to be satisfying. Jake Tapper being forced to agree that what happened was a good thing. What Trump did was a good thing and not a bad thing. Right Angle News Network breaking: a CBS reporter in Austin, Texas is being massively praised after refusing to follow a text message from his superior telling him not to focus on a massive crowd praising President Trump's actions in Iran. They don't want us to focus on this. Well, I am. Let's have a look at this.
What does that mean? It means they don't want us to focus on this.
Well, I am.
There's a lot of mixed opinions across Austin about the joint attack between the United States and Israel against Iran that happened earlier this week.
Okay, I'm not sure. It wasn't me. I don't know why that cut out. Okay, never mind. It's still gone.
Trump and the United States government for following through with this attack against Iran, while other people across the city say there needs to be more peace in the Middle East. The strike is drawing a variety of...
Well. It's almost as if the narrative is falling apart on the left, that what Trump did may not have been just horrifically bad as they want everybody to believe. Of course, the Democrats, man, they are seething like crazy. They're calling Trump like an evil dictator. They're likening him to, a certain Adolf individual, if you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, they are absolutely hating him for what he's doing, which is essentially trying to bring about world peace. Peace through strength. That's what he keeps saying. So this is from Shinichi. Like I promised you, these creatures, they will eat each other up because of their flawed double standards ideology. Video, CNN turned up in LA. Okay, so I believe that we already did see this.
The largest Iranian populations outside.
Yeah, we did. Okay, yeah, we already saw this. So let's move on to the next. I got another one. Holy smoke, CNN was just forced to air a Democrat Iranian American eviscerating her own party for attacking President Trump. It's imperative that the Democrat Party wake up and get past their dislike of President Trump. I am a huge Democrat. I am incredibly disappointed with my party. I do not see myself in them at this moment. We all saw this coming. The Democrats screwed up. TDS is a mental illness.
I think that it is imperative the Democratic Party wake up and get past their dislike of Donald Trump, the President Trump, and their feelings of international conflicts going on. This is about national security. This is about what is possible in the Middle East.
Common
this is
sense.
About being a good neighbor, good partner to the Gulf states and what their aspirations are. This is about supporting the people of Venezuela. This is about dismembering our relationship with, or not dismembering, but resetting our relationship with China. Right now, 55% of the oil production that Iran produces goes to China despite sanctions. You want to support the people of Ukraine. You want to end that war. You have to. There is no getting around dismembering this Islamic Republic. It is non-negotiable. It is not a want to have. It is a have to have. And it's not just for the Iranian people. I think you have to trust the Iranian people. We know this government better than anyone else. When you dismember and decapitate this regime, you are going to see a change in the Middle East, in Venezuela, in China, in Ukraine. And
probably
I think,
Cuba.
quite frankly, their ideology has really, it's caused a lot of problems for us worldwide. We need to take it seriously. And I think at this point, we have a tremendous opportunity. This will be like ending the Soviet Union, the Berlin Wall. This is a transformational moment for humankind, for security. And as an American, this is in our interest to complete it. So I am a Democrat. I have been a huge Democrat. I am incredibly disappointed with my party. I do not see myself in them in this moment.
Yep, on the wrong side, and I'm sure she looks like a raving lunatic that's probably screaming about Trump. How dare he take down the Ayatollah in Iran? Because I'm sure that's what they're all talking about. Look, I was reading posts from Democrats throughout the weekend. I'm not even gonna bother with even showing any of those because it's all just like copy paste nonsense, blasting Trump for what he did and how dare he attack Iran, dragging us into another forever war and all this, that, and the other. Just typical ridiculousness. But we do have this from Fox News Senator Fetterman. He blasts fellow Democrats again, saying that he cannot understand why members of his own party refuse to celebrate the death of Ayatollah Khamenei, whom he described as one of the most evil people to ever live.
This was one of the most evil people that ever lived. And after 37 years in Iran, he's been eliminated, and I can't imagine why Democrat, Republican, everyone can't celebrate that because
the Iranians certainly are.
Millions of people in Iran are absolutely celebrating that thing. And that's why I might be the only Democrat that would vote against the Iranian War Powers bill, because that would be the kind of thing they would want to prohibit or block that from happening.
Yeah, it's almost like the Democrats, they're just pro-regime. They're pro-totalitarianism. They're pro-communism. They're anything that's just wrong and evil with this world, they just want to double down on behalf of. And we got this from also Senator Fetterman just exposed how fellow Democrats condemning President Trump's strikes on Iran likely haven't even read the War Powers Act. Yeah, I'm almost certain that they haven't. Fetterman, have people ever read the War Powers Act? What's required of the president is provide 48 hours of notification. Then he or she has 60 days, up to 90 days to withdraw those troops, before Congress approves that. Anyway, it's a bunch of quotes, so we'll just hear it directly here.
Have people ever read the War Powers Act? What's required of the president is to provide 48 hours of notification, and then he or she have 60 days, up to 90 days to withdraw those troops, before Congress approves that. Neither of those have been activated. He did provide that to the Gang of Eight, and there are no American troops on the ground now.
No,
this was an incredibly precise and successful strikes, and they eliminated most of the leadership. So here we are. So yes, I do support that. Why can't the entire world celebrate that he's dead for what he's done to the world?
Yeah, and of course, Barack Obama, I believe that the number is 8. that Barack Obama attacked 8 different countries without congressional approval. And of course, Democrats, they were all silent about that, or not silent, but probably in full support of it. And from Jorge Bonilla, watch ABC's Ian Panel with no evidence other than communist regime media reporting blames the U.S. and Israel for a deadly accidental strike on a school. George Stephanopoulos and Ian, some Iranian retaliatory strikes have landed in Israel. And Ian says, yes, that's right. And it looks like it just goes on long-winded. I'm assuming that all of that's going to be right here in the video.
And Ian, some Iranian retaliatory strikes have landed in Israel?
Yeah, that's right. Devastating strike today that landed just outside of Jerusalem in the Beit Shemesh area. Emergency responders are on the scene. They've been trying to reach people who were trapped in the debris. They're saying that 8 people have been killed and that something in the region of around 30 people have been injured. And I think those numbers are likely to rise. And the death toll from that US-Israeli strike on a girls' school in Iran, now at least 148. I think a key reminder for all of us that this war has very real, very deadly consequences, and often for innocent people.
Oh man, the propaganda. It's looking more and more likely, by the way, that the school that was hit, that did kill, I believe it was over 100 children, girls. It was a girls' school in Iran. It appears that it was a missile that was malfunctioned, or it malfunctioned after it took off from Iran and fell onto a school. And that's simple. It's as simple as that. Something is up to, from what I read, up to 50% of Iranian missiles. Again, the fog of war, you don't really know what's really true and what's not, but apparently up to 50% of the Iranian missiles that they attempted to launch malfunctioned. Either they didn't get off the ground at all, or they got off the ground and fell, or they struck a target but didn't explode, and so on and so forth. From Guthrie Eagleman, Chris Murphy, melting down. This is a disaster. It's illegal. LOL, another Dem crying illegal, while President Trump just ended 47 years of Iranian terror, wiped out Khamenei, and made the world safer.
You have called for Congress to return to Washington and to vote on whether to try to essentially halt this military action. No war powers resolution.
Yeah, he's pro-regime. He's pro-communism.
Veto. Why do you think you need to take one?
Well, nobody in this country is asking for war with Iran. Just like months ago, no one in this country was asking for war with Venezuela.
Well, we didn't get that either.
Is intentionally tanking our economy. He's the most corrupt president in the history of our nation, and Americans
not so much.
Want him to focus.
You're on the wrong side of this, Chris Murphy.
Here at home, instead, he is busy getting us involved in quagmires overseas that already
so far
are
zero
deadly to American soldiers. This is a disaster. It is illegal, and the president is obligated under the Constitution to come to Congress and ask for an authorization of military force. He wouldn't get that.
Yeah, but that's not true.
If he asked for it, Congress wouldn't vote to give him the permission to do it, but he's obligated to come to Congress.
Yeah, I know, because there's a bunch of Muslims in Congress now, which is kind of problematic. But yeah, just like what John Fetterman said, this dude probably never even read the War Powers Act. Probably doesn't even think about the precedent that's already been set with just Obama alone. I'm sure Obama's not the first person to do that, but Obama, he called strikes on multiple different countries during his administration. So, Trump is basically doing what Obama had already done multiple times. And as far as Venezuela, look, we already know how that happened. They executed an arrest warrant, and they essentially served the arrest warrant, but they arrested him and then they left. The military was in and out, like within like half an hour, something like that. Obviously, we're not still engaging in a war or anything like that. Venezuela has effectively been liberated. The acting president of Venezuela, I believe her name is Delcy Rodriguez, fully working with the Trump administration. Secretary of Energy Chris Wright was just there last week, touring the oil and gas facilities, the refineries with the sitting president, and they're working out trade deals, and the country is looking a lot better than it was when Maduro was there. So obviously something that he's on the wrong side of. But yeah, if you go to Chris Murphy's profile, most if not all Democrats, they all have X profiles. The same with the Republicans. You can go view them. Whether if he's posting himself or if he's having one of his aides or one of his employees doing it on his behalf, not 100% there, but every single one of his posts is just full on loony. Okay, Overton. Iran's foreign minister forced to admit on air that multiple top IRGC commanders were eliminated, but insists nothing has changed. ABC's George Stephanopoulos pressed Abbas Araghchi Stephanopoulos, we just reported that 40 senior commanders were killed in the first minutes of the strike. So again, with the quotes, we'll just hear it.
We've just reported that 40 senior commanders were killed in the first minutes of the strike. How much damage has this done to your military infrastructure?
Well, we have lost some commanders. That is a fact. And the names are already
He's the Iranian foreign minister.
But, another fact is that nothing has changed in our, military capability. This is exactly what happened last time.
Of course, he has to say that.
You remember in June when Israel attacked us, they killed some of our top commanders at the beginning of the strikes, but they were replaced very soon. And in less than 12 hours, we were able to start retaliation. This time, it was even, faster. In less than 2 hours, we started to retaliate by attacking, Israeli targets and American bases in the region, and we have continued to do so.
Okay. Well, of course, he's gonna make it appear that the Iranian military is still fully intact, full steam ahead. They haven't been affected almost at all. I mean, of course he's going to say that. He has to say that. He represents the Iranian regime. Okay, Gunther Eagleman, right now in New York City, hundreds gathered in the streets, some in tears of joy, celebrating the death of tyrant Ali Khamenei and the collapse of his evil regime, while Ilhan Omar is devastated. Let's have a look. Tears of joy.
The people of Iran will forever
Trump
be
banned.
grateful. We are so happy.
Persians for Trump.
After 47 years. Thank you, Trump. Javi Shah. What do you think's happening next? The people are going to take over the country.
Trump 2028, that's what's next.
We're going to bring this Shah
Just kidding.
back. Long live the king.
Long live the king, you heard it. Thank you, Trump. I mean, look, how many years has it been? It was 1979, right? So what is that, 47 years that the Iranian or the Islamic regime or the Islamic Republic has taken over Iran. So all of these people that are celebrating, they weren't even alive when that happened. They have never known in Iran that was free like it was back in the 70s. And I mean, they're still crying tears of joy, even though they've never lived through what it used to be. And they just understand like how impactful that this truly is. They're chanting Bibi. Iranians are chanting Bibi. Dude, this is wild, man. They got it. Oh no, never mind. Well, maybe that was Netanyahu's picture. Looked like him. They're chanting Trump. You gotta love it. You won't see a second of this on CNN, on any mainstream news. But you're watching it here. And again, this is New York City, right? Yeah, this is New York City. What say you, Mamdani? Mayor Mamdani? Because he was oh so upset when this first happened. Make Iran great again. Okay, so if you want to see the rest of it, I'll repost this. Again, there's a direct link to my profile down below. And because it does go on for over 5 minutes. So looks like that's essentially what they're going to be doing for the entirety of the video, is just massive celebration, tears of joy, holding up pictures of Netanyahu and President Trump, and just in full-on celebration. And we got another one from Andy No. Thank you, Trump, NYC, March 1st. So it's going to be the same demonstration, celebration. Iranian Americans hold a rally celebrating the airstrikes on the Iranian regime and the death of its supreme leader. Video by NJEG Media. You know, why not give them a shout out? They're right there. All right, let's have a look. Thank you, Trump. And how many of these people do you reckon may have voted for Kamala Harris, or have been lifelong Democrat voters? I bet quite a few of them probably have. Now imagine how the people in Iran are feeling right now, knowing that the supreme leader was killed. Because again, what I heard from Patrick Bet David, 81% of Iranians hate the regime, and they want nothing more than to see it gone. And it's something like only 35% of Iranians are Muslim. Also from his words. And apparently, something like 50% of Iranians don't identify with any religion. Whether if that's true or not for sure. If you know for sure, just drop it in the comments. I'll read it. God, that's a lot of people, man. It just goes on and on. See, what the left likes to do, they like to show the crowds down on the ground level so you can't really know how large the crowds are. They could only be a few hundred people, but they make it look like there's thousands showing up. But no, this definitely looks like it's in the thousands of people, no doubt. Man, they're just having a blast. No pun intended. Full-on celebration in New York City. Mom Donnie, what say you? I would love to hear what Mom Donnie's saying about this, because he's saying, like, pray for Iran, and this is devastating news, and as mayor, I'm going to do everything I can to keep the citizens of New York City safe, and whatever. Democrats don't give a shit, man. They haven't even... Department of Homeland Security, man. They're not even funding the Department of Homeland Security. You think that they would be gathering up, not to try to stop Trump with the whole War Powers Act. You think they would be trying to convene as soon as possible to fund the Department of Homeland Security, because there's a lot of dangerous people out there who are radical terrorists that are going to be quite upset that the leader of Iran was taken out. This is from Rep. Anna Paulina Luna. In the last 24 hours, here, let me get a timestamp, 3:30 p.m. today. So as of this recording, this is only a few hours ago, Iran has taken military action against 14 countries. So it's no longer 11, it's 14 countries now. Obviously, the USA and the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Jordan, Iraq, Bahrain, Israel, Oman, Syria, Cyprus, and also France, which was a base in France. I believe I may have a video of that, I think. But nevertheless, there was a base, a French base that was hit somewhere in the Middle East. And France, by the way, they're retaliating by restationing some of their vessels, some of their Navy fleet. They're moving their fleet closer to Iran. It looks like they're going to get involved. And Italy, a NATO camp at Ali al-Salam base, and also the United Kingdom, which the United Kingdom, they're not being offensive in their actions right now. They're offering their support from a defensive perspective. Although I do have an update speech from Keir Starmer, so that may have changed. I haven't seen the speech yet. I'm just saving it for now. Defense news. President Trump also said Iran's naval headquarters has been largely destroyed in a different attack. So this is going to be on defensenews.com. And we'll go through some of this. Let's see, bring it up a little larger. So if you happen to be looking at this on a phone or what have you, if you want to follow along. And we'll just start right here. U.S. President Donald Trump announced Sunday that 9 Iranian naval ships have been sunk as part of combat operations against Iran. Quote, I have just been informed that we have destroyed and sunk 9 Iranian naval ships, some of them relatively large and important, Trump wrote in a post on X, adding that Iran's naval headquarters has been largely destroyed in a different attack, which, of course, we did read that earlier on his True Social. We are going after the rest. They will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea also, Trump wrote. U.S. Central Command officials said earlier Sunday that an Iranian Jamiran-class corvette was struck by U.S. forces at the beginning of Operation Epic Fury. The ship is currently sinking to the bottom of the Gulf of Oman at a Shah Bahar pier. The statement reads, as the president said, members of Iran armed forces, IRGC, and police must lay down your weapons. Abandon ship. 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action during combat operations. As soon as we get rid of this. Against Iran, CENTCOM officials announced on Sunday. 5 more have been listed as seriously wounded. U.S. B-2 stealth bombers struck Iran's hardened ballistic missiles with 2,000-pound bombs Saturday night, CENTCOM announced in a separate post on Sunday. I wonder if those were the bunker busters like what they used with Operation Midnight Hammer. Meanwhile, the U.S. military called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claim that it struck the aircraft carrier USS Abraham Lincoln with ballistic missiles a lie in a post on X on Sunday, and I believe we're going to get to that too. The Lincoln was not hit. The missiles launched didn't even come close, CENTCOM said in a post. The Lincoln continues to launch aircraft in support of CENTCOM's relentless campaign to defend the American people by eliminating threats from the Iranian regime. The Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is one of 2 U.S. aircraft carrier strike groups deployed to the region, alongside the Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group as part of the largest buildup of U.S. firepower in the Middle East in a generation. The assault by U.S. and partner forces began Saturday at 1:15 a.m. with the goal of knocking out the Iranian regime's security apparatus, prioritizing locations that posed an imminent threat. Among the primary targets of the operation were Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps command and control facilities, Iranian air defense capabilities, missile and drone launch sites, and military airfields, according to the statement. The compound of Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, was also targeted in the operation. A senior Israeli official told Reuters that Khamenei was killed in the strike. Trump later confirmed in a True Social post on Saturday that Khamenei was killed in the attack, calling the moment the single greatest chance for the Iranian people to take back their country. At least 201 people have been killed and more than 700 injured across Iran, according to the Iranian Red Crescent Society, which is wild, man. With all those bombs that they have dropped, apparently they've knocked out over 200 sites so far, and for only 201 people confirmed to have been killed is just nothing short of miraculous, in my opinion. So, yeah, and of course, the mainstream news, when that came out, they kept saying unconfirmed with regard to Khamenei being killed, kept saying that we've got unconfirmed reports, we're still waiting on confirmation. And this was after Trump came out and said that he was killed. I went over to Google because, they've got the whole Google AI thing now. So I asked Google if he was killed, and Google even said, well, there's no confirmation that he has been killed, but reports are coming out that he was. So then I followed up with a question. President Trump, I didn't say President Trump, I said the President of the United States said that this individual was killed. Isn't that official enough? And then Google says, well, technically speaking, and officially that is taken as an official notification because it's coming from the U.S. government or whatever, but just Google did just not want to confirm it. But we do have 100% confirmation because the whoever's in charge of the Iranian regime right now, whoever it was, maybe it was that foreign minister that we saw earlier, they confirmed that he was killed. So it is a confirmation that he is indeed dead. And from Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, today, President Trump has spoken with the leaders of Israel, Bahrain, and the UAE. The president has also been briefed on the shooting in Austin, Texas. And that was at 1:52 this afternoon. And it looks like we're going to get into the U.S. Central Command post now. So we're going to start with Operation Epic Fury, the first 24 hours. And the overview, U.S. Central Command commenced Operation Epic Fury at the direction of the President of the United States. CENTCOM forces are striking targets to dismantle the Iranian regime's security apparatus, prioritizing locations that pose an imminent threat. Operation launched 1:15 a.m., February 28, 2026. The operation location is CENTCOM area of responsibility in Iran, of course, is the target. So these are the assets that have been employed, and man, is it a list. So included with the military assets that are currently involved in striking Iran are B-2 stealth bombers, Lucas drones, Patriot interceptor missile systems, THAAD anti-ballistic missile systems, F-18 fighter jets, F-16 fighter jets, F-22 Raptor fighter jets, A-10 attack jets, F-35 Lightning stealth fighters, EA-18G electronic attack aircraft, airborne early warning and control aircraft, airborne communication relay, the P-8 maritime patrol aircraft, RC-135 reconnaissance aircraft, MQ-9 Reapers, which I believe those are drones, M-142 high mobility artillery rocket systems, nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, guided missile destroyers, counter-drone systems, refueling tanker aircraft, refueling ships, C-17 Globemaster cargo aircraft, C-130 cargo aircraft, and special capabilities that we can't list here. I wonder if that new what is that is it B-22 or B-23, the Reaper, I think it's the Reaper, that new what's supposed to be replacing or at least supporting the B-2 stealth bombers. I wonder if that might be out in combat. We might be hearing about that in the future. Maybe not, but I believe that they've already been doing testing on that plane for the last couple of years, so it might be combat ready now. All right, so the types of targets: command and control centers, the IRGC Joint Headquarters, the IRGC Aerospace Forces Headquarters, the Integrated Air Defense Systems, ballistic missile sites, Iranian Navy ships, Iranian Navy submarines, anti-ship missile sites, and military communication capabilities. So that is Operation Epic Fury in a nutshell, at least over the first 24 hours. And we have this: the Iranian Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps killed more than 1,000 Americans over the last 47 years. Yesterday, a large-scale U.S. strike cut off the head of the snake. America has the most powerful military on Earth, and the IRGC no longer has a headquarters. Let's have a look. Yeah, I believe that was the compound where the Supreme Leader, his residence is here. Don't exactly quote me on that, but I believe I did see a video where they described this location. And I believe that's it. Just total obliteration. Military straight out of the future, man. I mean, we really are. U.S. Central Command. So what is false? During a UN Security Council meeting yesterday, the Iranian ambassador to the UN stated their response has been directed solely and exclusively at the bases and assets of the United States. That's a lie. The truth is the Iranian regime is actively targeting civilians and has attacked more than a dozen locations, including Dubai International Airport, Kuwait International Airport, Zayed International Airport in Dubai, Erbil International Airport in Iraq, Fairmont Palm Hotel in Dubai, the Burj Al Arab Hotel in Dubai, the Crown Plaza Hotel in Bahrain, the Port of Dubai, residential areas in Beit Shemesh, Israel, residential areas in Tel Aviv, residential areas in Arab Views Towers in Bahrain, and residential areas in Qatar. So there you go. They are targeting civilian locations all over the place. From what I read yesterday, even the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building on Earth, was evacuated, which is in the United Arab Emirates. Okay, so let's head on to the next post. I believe there's quite a few from Central Command. They were posting all day. From 11 hours ago, as of this recording, an Iranian Jamaran-class corvette was struck by U.S. forces during the start of Operation Epic Fury. The ship is currently sinking to the bottom of the Gulf of Oman at a Shah Bahar pier. As the president said, members of Iran's armed forces, IRGC, and police must lay down your weapons, abandon ship. And, of course, I already read that from that news article a little bit ago, but it's all right. I already got it in front of me. And check this out. U.S. Central Command. Last night, U.S. B-2 stealth bombers armed with 2,000-pound bombs struck Iran's hardened ballistic missile facilities. No nation should ever doubt America's resolve. I can only imagine what that explosion must have looked like. Taking out an entire warehouse or an entire storage facility just completely filled to the brim with ballistic missiles. Or maybe not. Maybe they have to go through like what's similar, like nuclear bombs have to go through. They have to go through some chain reaction process in order to detonate. Otherwise, it's just basically a paperweight. But anyway, they actually left a video here. So let's check this out. God, that plane's awesome. Sexy, ain't it? It's a nice plane. It's been in service since the 80s, hasn't it? Maybe the early 90s. I mean, the B-2's been around for a minute. It's got to be about 40 years by now. All right. See what else we got. CENTCOM update. Tampa, Florida. As of 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, March 1st, 3 U.S. service members have been killed in action and 5 are seriously wounded as part of Operation Epic Fury. So the reason that CENTCOM, it's always out of Tampa, Florida, is because the central headquarters for CENTCOM is located at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa. And I know that because I happen to live here in the Tampa Bay area. So anyway, moving on. Several others sustained minor shrapnel injuries and concussions and are in the process of being returned to duty. Major combat operations continue and our response effort is ongoing. The situation is fluid, so out of respect for the families, we will withhold additional information, including the identities of our fallen warriors, until 24 hours after next of kin has been notified. And yeah, it's awful that it happened. That's an unfortunate cost of warfare, of military action. Let's hope that the numbers don't tick up any higher than that. So, rest in peace to them, and God bless them and their families. From another one from U.S. Central Command, Iran's IRGC claims to have struck USS Abraham Lincoln with ballistic missiles. That's a lie. The Lincoln was not hit. The missiles launched didn't even come close. The Lincoln continues to launch aircraft in support of CENTCOM's relentless campaign to defend the American people by eliminating threats from the Iranian regime. And then they've got some images at the USS Abraham Lincoln. There were also reports after that was debunked, and it was proven to be debunked. The Iranian regime then started saying that the USS Abraham Lincoln is backing off, that they're moving their ship away from Iran because it's under threat, which also isn't true. That I don't think that it's moved at all since they started launching the operation on Saturday morning. So from open source intel, the CIA quietly tracked Supreme Leader Khamenei for months, mapping his movements with high confidence and building a detailed pattern of life. Then came the break. Intelligence picked up a rare Saturday morning gathering of Iran's top leadership at a central Tehran compound, with Khamenei confirmed in attendance. The window was real, and it was tight. The intelligence was passed to Israel. Plans shifted. Instead of a nighttime strike under the cover of darkness, the U.S. and Israel recalibrated for a daylight hit to maximize the opportunity. The compound was struck. Khamenei was killed alongside senior regime figures, including top security officials named in subsequent reporting. New York Times. And in case you're wondering why they decided to attack Iran at broad daylight, that is why. Because, yes, they usually would engage in a surprise attack like this under the cover of darkness. However, they decided to do it in broad daylight because they had confirmation after the CIA had been following him for months. They finally not only knew exactly where he was in the moment, he was also meeting with a bunch of top officials, which, they could get 40 birds with one stone, basically. And this is from open source intel. Not sure how official this is because, again, it's got a blue check. So you got to kind of take anything with a blue check with kind of a grain of salt. But they do have 1.1 million followers, so that's a pretty big following. But anyway, let's head on to Nick Sordor. Breaking 40 top Iranian leaders were killed during the U.S. attack on Iran per Fox News. Holy crap. Trump practically decapitated the entire Iranian regime in one night.
Fox News has learned from a senior Israeli security official. Israel assesses that more than 40 senior Iranian security and regime figures were killed in strikes during the opening operation.
It was probably just during that one meeting
launched this morning with the United States against the Iranian regime. This official goes on to say this is one of the largest regime decapitation operations conducted in modern warfare history, and that Israeli intelligence managed to infiltrate the Iranian security echelon, making the strikes possible, this official explained. But again, this news just coming into us, we were able to confirm it, that a senior Israeli official telling Fox News more than 40 senior Iranian security and regime figures were killed in the opening strike this morning. And John and Sandra,
you can hear some alarms going off in the background.
We're going to stay here. Our security is giving me the nod to stay here. Mm-hmm. Tel Aviv is under a significant attack right now.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And again, this news breaking that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, has been killed. We are now reporting exclusively that 40 senior regime figures were also killed in the strikes. the Iranians are going to try to target as much of Israel as possible, and that's exactly what is happening right now.
Yeah, look, if you take out just the leader, I'm sure there's a process in putting in a new leader. But when you take out 40 all at once, I can only imagine the logistical difficulty that would entail. From Rapid Response 47 from 9 hours ago, Rep. Brian Mast, you have the head of the United Nations who's lining up against America and in support of the Ayatollah. And while not surprising, but very troubling, most congressional Democrats, they're going to line up next week and say, we don't want President Trump to have any authority to defend the United States of America against the imminent threat of Iran. Let's have a look.
You have, of course, the head of the United Nations, the Secretary General, who's lining up against America in support of the Ayatollah and the existing system. And the fourth one, while maybe not surprising but very troubling, is most congressional Democrats. As you brought up, they're going to line up next week and say, we don't want the president to have any authority to defend the United States of America against the imminent threat of Iran.
Yeah.
So imminent that even just a year and a half ago, they killed 3 U.S. service members in Jordan and everything else that they've done since then.
Yeah, of course, because they put their party over America. They don't care about the constituents. They don't care about the safety of the American people, the Democrats. They don't. In fact, they would love nothing more just because Trump, because they got Trump derangement syndrome, they want to take that ability away from President Trump, which would essentially leave our country wide open. So if Iran were to launch some type of ballistic missile and hit the United States, they would just stand by and let it happen. And they would be so gleeful to see that occur, because then they could hang all of that around Trump's neck. They would just allow Iran to just attack the U.S. time and time and time again, every single time, just pointing it at Trump, just in the name of power. They are starved and bloodthirsty for power. That is all that the Democrats want these days. Iran has an imminent threat against the United States of America. That comes to an end. This is from the House Foreign Affairs Committee Majority. This is going to be on Newsmax. Let's have a look at this.
You know the pain of war, and now we've had 3 soldiers who have given their lives in this. Tell me your thoughts about this operation.
I love them. I didn't know them. Those were my brothers. I thank them for doing their duty to defend the United States of America, and they are heroes. I would just start by saying that. It can't be said enough. They are American heroes, and I thank them. My thoughts about this operation, very, very necessary. Iran has been an imminent threat against the United States of America since essentially the photos that you were showing. They constantly attack the United States of America. Just a year and a half ago, very specifically, 3 Americans killed at a place called Tower 22 in Jordan. Sergeant Rivers, Sergeant Sanders, Sergeant Moffat, all killed by the hand of Iran. They will attack us via their proxies. They will attack us directly. And if given the opportunity, they will attack us with their ballistic missiles and put a nuclear tip on them if they could. So I thank President Trump for defending us against the imminent threat of Iran.
Yeah, for sure. And now would be the best time that they can, because their economy has been a free fall for over, well, hell, probably for many years. But the inflation has been up to like 150% inflation rate over the last year. The people in Iran, they took to the streets and protest in December and January, and the Iranian regime ended up killing over 20,000 of those protesters over the days that they were protesting. Sometime like in the middle of January was when it was at its worst in terms of the killings, as well as the U.S. taking out Nicolas Maduro, which was a huge asset to Iran. Now they can't use Venezuela as their endless piggy bank, or whatever it was that they were using Venezuela for, because they were exchanging oil or what have you in between. So that was cut off from Iran. It just seems like everything had lined up just right. This just happened to be just the time, if any time, over the next God knows how many years to conduct a strike like this, and conduct a strike we did. Okay, so we're going to move on to the UK Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, who authorizes U.S. strikes on Iran from British military bases. All right, let's have a listen.
The United States has requested permission to use British bases for that specific and limited defensive purpose. We have taken the decision to accept this request to prevent Iran firing missiles across the region, killing innocent civilians, putting British lives at risk, and hitting countries that have not been involved.
Of course, he seems quite reluctant to do that. Of course, he might as well have said it's with our great reluctance that we authorize U.S. strikes on Iran using British military bases. So I've got the whole thing here. Actually, put them in backwards, but that's okay. So he probably says that during this speech here.
Yesterday, I spoke to you about the situation in the Gulf and explained that the United Kingdom was not involved in the strikes on Iran. That remains the case.
And why do you think he's taking a stance like that? Is it maybe because they imported so many Islam or Muslim migrants or refugees or what have you into the United Kingdom over the last decade or so that they number like what in the millions at this point? So he's just scared to death of appearing, I don't know, racist or anti-Islamic or whatever, Islamophobe. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, probably.
Over the last 2 days, Iran has launched sustained attacks across the region at countries who did not attack them. They've hit airports and hotels where British citizens are staying. This is clearly a dangerous situation. We have at least 200,000 British citizens in the region, residents, families on holiday, and those in transit. I ask all our people in the region to please register your presence and follow Foreign Office travel advice. I know this is a deeply worrying time, and we will continue to do all we can to support you. Our armed forces, who are located across the region, are also being put at risk by Iran's actions. Yesterday, Iran hit a military base in Bahrain, narrowly missing British personnel. The death of the supreme leader will not stop Iran from launching these strikes. Their approach is becoming even more reckless and more dangerous.
That's why we're trying to take out all their missile defenses and offenses.
Our decision that the UK would not be involved with the strikes on Iran was deliberate. Not least because,
in other words, don't look at me,
don't
look at us.
The best way forward for the region and for the world is a negotiated settlement, one in which Iran agrees to give up any aspirations to develop a nuclear weapon. But Iran is...
Okay, so the British, the French, the Germans, they're all about their stance that Iran should never have any access to a nuclear weapon or have any ambitions in building a nuclear weapon, but they're anti overthrowing the regime. So like they want the regime to stay there, they just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon.
Striking British interests nonetheless, and putting British people at huge risk, along with our allies across the region. That is the situation we face today. Our partners in the Gulf have asked us to do more to defend them, and it is my duty to protect British lives. We have British jets in the air as part of coordinated defensive operations, which have already successfully intercepted Iranian strikes. But the only way to stop the threat is to destroy the missiles at source, in their storage depots, or the launchers which are used to fire the missiles. The United States has requested permission to use British bases
to
prevent Iran firing missiles across the region, killing innocent civilians, putting British lives at risk, and hitting countries that have not been involved. The basis of our decision is the collective self-defence of long-standing friends and allies and protecting British lives. That is in accordance with international law, and we are publishing a summary of our legal advice. We are not joining these strikes, but we will continue with our defensive actions in the region. And we will also bring experts from Ukraine together with our own experts to help Gulf partners shoot down Iranian drones attacking them. I want to be very clear. We all remember the mistakes of Iraq, and we have learned those lessons. We were not involved in the initial strikes on
Oh my
Iran.
God, dude, you've said that like 5 times.
And we will not join offensive action now. But Iran is pursuing.
I promise you, I am not Islamophobic.
Strategy. So we are supporting the collective self-defense of our allies and our people in the region. Because that is our duty to the British people. It is the best way to eliminate the urgent threat and prevent the situation spiraling further. This is the British government protecting British interests and British lives.
All right. Well, I think a lot of these officials, these elitists, the powerful, I think they want the Islamic Republic in place, the regime, because the conflicts, it makes for a big cash cow for some of these people. The drama, the suffering, if it bleeds, it leads. God forbid we have real world peace. Oh, wait, well, we can have world peace, but not from Trump. We can't let Trump be the face of world peace. Let the world burn before that happens. Okay, so Clash report, French President Macron speaks. The missile and drone attacks launched in response by Iran in a totally disproportionate and indiscriminate manner have struck facilities and numerous civilian targets among our partners and allies in the region.
Comme depuis hier matin, les États-Unis et Israël contre l'Iran ont conduit à une escalade régionale sans précédent. Et les attaques de missiles, de drones lancés en réponse par l'Iran d'une manière totalement disproportionnée et indiscriminée ont touché des emprises militaires, de nombreuses cibles civiles.
Okay, it was really short. It's just 25 seconds.
Et alliés de la région.
And partners and allies in the region. It was just its opening statement. But we do have a follow-up with regard to France. Breaking France enters the war and moves its carrier strike group to the eastern Mediterranean. The Charles de Gaulle is leaving the Baltic and heading toward the fight. They're sending their most powerful warship to the region. Europe is entering this war. And looks like that's the French ship or a fleet of ships that they are talking about. And from the New York Post, pressure mounts on Democrats to fund terror-fighting Homeland Security as U.S. attacks Iran. Okay, let's have a quick look at this. The Democrats are facing mounting pressure to fund terror-fighting Homeland Security as the U.S. attacks Iran. Not the time to play games. Well, the Democrats are all about playing games, as the primary reason why they're not funding Homeland Security, because they're playing political games. That's what it's all about. They just don't want, Trump ever to have a win. It's all about insisting that Trump doesn't win. The U.S. is operating without a fully funded Department of Homeland Security, the nation's first line of defense against terror threats, especially during conflicts, prompting dire warnings from the GOP. This is certainly not the time to play games, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Rick Crawford from Arkansas told Fox on Saturday. As Tehran was vowing deadly retribution against the U.S. over its joint strikes with Israel against Iran. And we've got some images, Timu Obama, Chuck Schumer, Cheeseburger Schumer. If this doesn't move the needle for our Democrat friends, I don't know what does. Yeah, I wouldn't count on it. Crawford said, referring to the dangerous international situation and the Dems stalling over additional funding. They could just hang it over Trump's head and just blame Trump for it. Look, I think that Democrats, they would love nothing more than for a terrorist attack to happen, because then they could just hang it all on President Trump. Well, you shouldn't have attacked Iran in the first place. Now look what you did. Now there's an attack here, and there's an attack there. And then, of course, when Republicans, they say, well, no, if we had funding for the Department of Homeland Security, then we probably could have stopped this from ever happening in the first place. Democrats will answer back like, well, what about ICE? What about Immigration Customs Enforcement? Like Trump's Gestapo, bro. So I don't think that they have any intention on funding the Department of Homeland Security. I think they're just going to double down. They're just going to try to stick to it. And behind closed doors, between each other, among the Democrats, they're just going to hope and pray that something does happen. That way they could just blame all of it on President Trump in the way of any potential terrorist attack, God forbid. All right, so Republicans were ramping up the pressure on Democrats to end the partial DHS funding shutdown that has raged on since February the 14th. Crawford is a member of the Gang of Eight, a group of 4 Republicans and 4 Democrats who get access to the most highly classified briefings given to Congress. U.S. strikes on Iran with Israel under Operation Epic Fury began hours after a slew of federal workers at DHS were hit with their first major lapse in full pay during the funding shutdown. And of course, we know with TSA, this is now the second round that they have to go without getting a paycheck. No thanks to the Democrats, because they did the same thing with the government shutdown in the fall. So here's an image of Operation Epic Fury, where it's just showing just different stats. Iranian attack. The U.S. military carried out nearly 900 strikes during the first 12 hours. Holy shit. Israel used 200 fighter jets to strike 500 Iran targets. Ayatollah Khamenei and 40 top leaders were killed. At least 201 people killed, 747 wounded in Iran, Red Crescent reports. Iranian attacks on Israel. Iran fired 35 missiles at Israel and up to 14 at U.S. facilities in Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE. Iran fired 300 missiles in the first 12 hours. Civilian targets in Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa, Petah, Kivia, Rishon LeZion, and Beersheba. Military sites at Tel Aviv, and so on and so forth. Those were all the sites that were hit. And what else do we have? So U.S. weapons, of course, we already covered all that. Iranian attacks on U.S. vessels or U.S. assets. Includes the U.S. Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, U.S. Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, U.S. Al Dhafra Air Base in Abu Dhabi, U.S. Al Salam Air Base in Kuwait, and Erbil International Airport in Iraq. And Democrats have leveraged the current 60-vote Senate filibuster scenario to block funding for DHS to issue demands for sweeping reforms to immigration enforcement policy. A DHS funding measure has already cleared the House. The Dems' demands came in response to the shootings of anti-ICE protesters Renee Good, Alex Preddy in Minneapolis. Of course, we already all know that. Despite the fact that how many angel parents exist, how many angel families are out there because their loved ones were killed by illegal immigrants, whether they were criminals at the time or otherwise. It's got a number in the hundreds, maybe even over 1,000 at this point, Americans that were killed by illegal immigrants. Just last week, the White House made a counteroffer to Democrats. Some of the sticking points are Democrats' demands for judicial warrant requirements for immigration enforcement raids and a ban on federal agents wearing masks. Both of those points are red lines for Republicans. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, U.S. Customs and Border Protection are already funded under one big beautiful bill, but other critical DHS agencies such as Transportation Security Administration and the Coast Guard are not, as well as the U.S. Secret Service and FEMA and cybersecurity agencies. Those are all defunded right now, no thanks to the Democrats. And here's Chris Murphy. Remember the video we watched of him a little bit ago? They went to war with Iran, which nobody in America was asking for, so they could conjure an excuse to allow ICE to keep murdering Americans and tear gassing schools here at home with impunity, which nobody in America was asking for. I'm telling you, dude, these people have lost their fucking minds. These people are absolutely psychopathically, delusionally insane. And another one from John Husted. When the Senate gavels in next week, the very first order of business should be simple. Fund the Department of Homeland Security. Chuck Schumer and Democrats should stop blocking a vote on the funding bill. Protecting the homeland isn't partisan, it's fundamental. Support the... Oh, see, I didn't really intend on doing this. I didn't want to go over to X. Let's see. It's fundamental. Support the men and women who keep Americans safe. Fund DHS now. All right, so there you go. And Mike Lee, Congress funded pointless priorities that Dems requested. The least Dems can do is fund Homeland Security. And it continues the urgent concerns for DHS funding has done little to sway Democrats who are locked in on the shutdown. They went to war with Iran. Okay, we already read all that. Okay, well, we get the gist of it. I'll have this linked if you want to take a look at the rest of that article. It'll be below in the description. Moving on to Wall Street Mav. Britain is currently in a hostage situation. The Prime Minister and UK Secretary of Defense keep repeating over and over again, we were not involved in Iran. We didn't help the USA. They are terrified of what their Muslim captors will do to them. And that's kind of what I was alluding to just by him being ever so careful. Like, oh, please, God, we didn't have anything to do with what happened in Iran. We're just, we didn't do anything. Don't be mad at us. Don't terrorize us. How dare you? I mean, dude, why don't you just deport all of these people that you have in your country? The ones who have no intention on assimilating into UK culture. Not at all. They want you to become just like them. They want to implement Sharia law. And it's gotten crazy to the point where if you if you say out in public that you want all of these immigrants out of your country in the UK, they'll arrest you for something like that. It's insane, man.
In terms then of those developments in the UK government's position, do you back what America and Israel have done? It's been condemned by the United Nations.
No.
Many countries have
I don't
said
want to
it's
appear
illegal. Some of
Islamophobic.
your colleagues have said it is illegal. Does the government back what they've done?
Britain played no part in the strikes on Iran.
That's not an answer.
We share, however, the primary aim of all allies in the region and the US that Iran should never have a nuclear weapon.
But do you believe this action was within international law?
Well, we play no part in the strikes. We just didn't participate, and it is for the US to set out the legal basis.
So what are they going to do when they're in a situation where they have to strike? If they're providing air defense or whatever it is that they want to call it, and they're providing that, and let's say that Iranians are firing missiles at them, and they have a point where they have to return fire, and they end up taking out Iranian soldiers or what have you. I mean, are they going to still say, we played absolutely no part whatsoever?
Of the action that it took. Our first focus.
So you don't know if it's legal. You don't have a view as to whether or not these strikes were the right thing to do and within international law.
So it's for the US to explain the legal basis they're operating
but
on.
Other countries have. Forgive me. Other important allies of the
but
UK
you're involved,
have.
dude.
So Canada, for example, Australia, for example, close allies of yours and of this country's have both said explicitly that they do back what America and Israel have done, and you're taking a different position.
Because he's scared. I don't want to appear racist.
Secretary, our first focus and all our action is defensive. It's within international law. It's coordinated with regional allies to make sure that we can reinforce.
Dude, these people are nuts. He's also trying to appease the leftist cult too, the ones that chant from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, or whatever the hell that they say. It's those people that he's probably more scared of than the freaking Muslims, because they vote. And they have some form of a political sway, I guess, in the UK, similar to what they have here. Whether if it's only like 10% of the population or 5%, whatever it is, they just tend to be extremely loud, and it scares politicians for some crazy reason.
Not just our UK personnel and people, but UK allies, bases, and partners in the region. And we share that long-term aim. We share that determination that Iran should never have a nuclear weapon.
And we heard that like a billion times.
Whether or not you back these dramatic, some would say audacious and courageous, some would say reckless and dangerous actions by America and Israel. Do you think it was reckless, or do you think it was right?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Look, he's not going to answer it.
Part in these strikes, as Britain, we can look
that. You've said that already.
Oh my God, dude!
This is a moment of
history. No nuclear weapon. We get it.
Watching this morning will want to know and will expect to know from their government: is Britain on the side of those two countries who have killed?
It's quite a conundrum he's put himself into.
So I think people watching, people like Fiona, will want to know now, today, that Britain is on top of what's necessary to do what we can to keep them safe, to reinforce regional stability, prevent further escalation, and that's my task, and that's my priority as Defence Secretary of the UK.
Okay, we can hear your.
Oh, good grief, dude! So if push came to shove, you would strike Iran if you had to. Like if Iran was about to take out a UK military base or whatever, are you going to allow them to just take out your base, or are you going to hit them first? I don't know, man. Sounds like probably the former. All right, so let's see what else that we've got here. From Lynn P. Reza Pahlavi, the exiled son of Iran's last Shah. Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what they call him. They call him the Shah. Says he was certain that the collapse of the Islamic Republic was inevitable and that he was uniquely placed to lead the country after the unrest. The U.S.-based opposition leader called the world to join Iranian protesters to hasten the process of the collapse of Khamenei's regime and prevent more loss of life. He said the foreign government did not require boots on the ground, but only targeted intervention. Will Reza Pahlavi be the next leader of Iran? I mean, it would seem fitting, right? I mean, he's the son of the Shah that was exiled.
I reaffirm my lifelong pledge by stepping in to lead the movement that will take back our country from the anti-Iranian hostile force that occupies it and kills its children. I will return to Iran. I am uniquely positioned to ensure a stable transition. That's not my opinion. That's the verdict delivered loudly and clearly by the people in the face of bullets. But let me be clear. With or without the world's help, the regime will fall. It will fall sooner.
Well, you are getting the world's help.
And more lives will be saved if the world turns its words into action.
All right. I guess it would just be, maybe it'll be as simple as being up to the people of Iran to decide. I would assume that's what they would want. I mean, if they had, royalty for who knows how long, probably forever, I would assume that would be the case. However, I'm like I said, I'm not well versed in Iranian politics or anything like that. U.S. Embassy Jerusalem. As a result of the current security situation, the U.S. Embassy has directed that all U.S. government employees and their family members continue to shelter in place in and near their residences until further notice. Given the security situation and in compliance with Israel Home Front Command guidance, the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem will be closed on Monday, March 2nd. This includes the consular sections in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. There will be no passport, emergency, or regular or consular report of birth abroad services. The U.S. Embassy is not in a position at this time to evacuate or directly assist Americans in departing Israel. Read full message here. I mean, it looks like that they wrote this fairly frantically because they missed a space there, missed a space there, missed one there. So anyway, security alert. You can read the full message at il.usembassy.gov, and it will appear as follows. Security alert, U.S. Embassy, Jerusalem, shelter in place, written on March 1st. And of course, that will be down below if you want to look at that. Ambassador Mike Waltz, the Iranian regime has even attempted to assassinate the U.S. President Donald Trump. Now they are masquerading as a victim. Now we have taken lawful action. Oh,
thank you, Mr. President.
Here we go.
I wish to exercise my right of reply to the so-called representative of the Iranian regime. The United States strongly rejects this ridiculous and frankly farcical assertion that U.S. actions are inconsistent with international law. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted, quote, "Death to America."
Oh, he don't look happy now, does he?
At every opening of its parliament.
Oh, he knows what's up.
It has sought to eradicate the state of Israel. It has waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder. It is responsible for a series of unprovoked armed attacks targeting the United States and Israel, violations of the UN Charter, and threats to international peace and security across the Middle East.
Absolutely.
It has even attempted to assassinate the U.S. President Trump. It has done so.
They were vocal about that, weren't they?
Not only directly, but through its proxies, seeking to hide and mask its bad actions while publicly claiming to be a victim. Iran's menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, our partners, our allies around the world. The United States has made every effort to negotiate a peaceful resolution of this conflict with Iran. But Iran has failed to take that opportunity. So in close coordination with the government of Israel, the United States has taken lawful actions to address these threats in line with Article 51 of the Charter of the United Nations. And Mr. President, I'll just say on a final note, you know who is not complaining tonight? You know who is not citing the vagaries of international law? You know who is celebrating in the streets around the world? The Iranian people.
Yeah, they are. Wow,
Mr. President, maybe, perhaps just maybe, they will finally be free. I thank you.
Wow.
I thank the
What a
representative of the
mic
United
drop.
States for the statements.
I assume that happened today. Yikes. I mean, that probably wasn't, February 20th, so yesterday. Yeah, that probably wasn't just some archive footage that happened a year ago. Sounds like it was quite recent now, doesn't it? All right, Raw's alerts breaking. According to Fox News, a former FBI official has issued a stark warning that sleeper cells linked to Hezbollah and Hamas could be operating inside the United States amid the ongoing strikes on Iran. So that's all it says. As my post said below, would be nice to hear this from the FBI directly and not just some former FBI official. I don't know why the FBI wouldn't just come out and say that if that's actually the case, which, look, man, you just got to assume that that's most likely true. I'm sure that there's a lot of people who align themselves with Islamist extremism that found their way into the United States sometime over the last 5 years. Anyway, Mike Davis, Iran is at war against the United States. It has been for 47 years. Less than 2 weeks ago, Iran's supreme leader threatened to sink American ships. The president doesn't need Congress's permission to fight back. It is the president's constitutional duty as commander-in-chief to fight back. Alexander Hamilton. But when a foreign nation declares or openly and avowedly makes war upon the United States, they are then, by the very fact, already at war. And any declaration on the part of Congress is nugatory. It is at least unnecessary. So that was according to Alexander Hamilton. So I will also have that in the description. Let's see if I can at least get a little bit of this. I mean, I know that the text is really small. The framers of it would have blushed at a provision or repugnant to good sense, so inconsistent with national security and inconvenience. That instrument has only provided affirmatively that, quote, the Congress shall have the power to declare war, unquote. The plain meaning of which is that it is the peculiar and exclusive province of Congress, when the nation is at peace, to change that state into a state of war, whether from calculations of policy or from provocations or injuries received. In other words, it belongs to Congress only to go to war, but when a foreign nation declares or openly and avowedly makes war upon the United States, they are then, by the very fact, already at war, and any declaration on the part of Congress is nugatory. It is at least unnecessary. This inference is clear in principle and has the sanction of established practice. It is clear in principle because it is self-evident that a declaration by one nation against another produces at once a complete state of war between both, and that no declaration on the other side can at all vary their relative situation. And in practice, it is well known that nothing is more common than when war is declared by one party to prosecute mutual hostilities without a declaration by the other. And again, that was a quote from, written by Alexander Hamilton, the examination number 1. And this is within Article 1, Section 8, Clause 11 of the Founders' Constitution, U.S. Constitution. Okay. And that brings about a very good point. Because Iran has been, I mean, look, dude, that's common knowledge. Even Democrats would have to agree that Iran's been chanting death to America for 40, 50 years or however long it's been. There's no doubt about that they've been very anti-America, vowing the destruction of the United States for years and years and years. Congressman Pat Harrigan, if anyone is wondering why the administration can't brief Congress before taking military action, here's your answer. This is from Ilhan Omar. Iraq was attacked by the U.S. during Ramadan, and it is sickening to know that the U.S. is again going to attack Iran during Ramadan. The U.S. apparently loves to strike Muslim countries during Ramadan, and I am convinced it isn't what these countries have done to violate international law, but about who they worship. And of course, she got community noted, and the community note reads as follows. The Iraq invasion began on March 20th, 2003, and major combat operations were declared over on May 1st, months before Ramadan that year. Surveys also show that in Iran, only about 37% of the population identifies as Muslim, while nearly half describe themselves as non-religious. So take that, Ilhan Omar. And of course, she doesn't allow anybody to reply. There's 0 replies because she has cut off replies to her X account. So you're not allowed to reply to what she says because she gonna get so triggered over it. All right, so Chuck Fleischman says Joe Biden and Kamala Harris purposely let in at least 99 people on the terror watch list into our country with their insane open border policies. Now, Democrats continue to shut down DHS when we need Homeland Security to be as strong as possible in the Democrat DHS shutdown. From Libs of TikTok, Iranian state TV was hacked and played a message from President Trump urging citizens to stand up and take action. This is wild. Not only did this happen with them playing President Trump's message, they also played Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's message also. So I don't know who did it. I'm assuming it was probably Israel who did it, but they hijacked the television airwaves across the entire country of Iran. So anybody watching TV in Iran at this time was watching this message. Let's take a look at this.
Is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. America is backing you with overwhelming
It looks like it's glitching out.
Devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous.
Well, I'm sure anybody who hacked this network, it's probably not exactly the most stable connection.
This is the moment for action. Do not let it.
Yeah, but guess what? It's coming through. It's coming through. That happened, and I'm not sure if the next one's going to be as quiet. If it is, then I'll cut the background music for that too. And we'll take a look at Dahlia Kurtz. Happening now, Islamic Regime TV has been hacked. Benjamin Netanyahu is now addressing the Iranian people. And don't forget to rejoice that Khamenei is now a Khamenei Tashin. Yeah, I don't know. I can't pronounce it. I'm terrible with foreign words. Let's take a look.
נקד אלפי מטרות של משטר הטרור. אנחנו ניצור את התנאים לעם האיראני האמיץ לשחרר את עצמו מכבלי הרודנות. ולכן אני שוב פונה אליכם.
שהמקסה הקשות.
אל תחמיצו את ההזדמנות. זו הזדמנות של פעם בדור. אל תשבו בחיבוק ידיים, כי בקרוב יגיע הרגע שלכם, הרגע שבו תידרשו לצאת ל...
Well, I'm not too well versed in Farsi, but that looks like it might be Farsi. I think it might be. So that also happened. I think we have one more. Santiago Eves, urgent Israel hacked into Iranian television and aired Prime Minister Netanyahu's speech calling on the Iranian people to prepare for rebellion and freedom. I won't play the whole thing. It's a minute and a half. I'll play like 10 seconds of it because we already got the idea at this point. We'll just have a look at this. Yeah, it looks like the volume's also really low.
Well,
that was louder. That's not Netanyahu. Oh, maybe he's going to show the moment that it was cut off, or that it was hacked. Yeah, here we go. What if it like glitches or just cuts to it? Oh, no, it just kind of switched over to the next. All right, well, I'm not sure what that was all about. Whether if he's just watching the speech, I'm not sure if that didn't exactly look like it was hacked. It just looked like he went to the next video. Anyway, that's these aren't the only accounts that I saw this on. This was all over the place today on social media. They didn't say that Israel hacked the airwaves of Iran. They just stated that Iranian airwaves were hacked, and they were playing the statements from President Trump and Netanyahu. All right, so this is from OSZ. Approval of the U.S. killing Iranian leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei approved 40%, disapproved 31%. Net approval by age 18 to 29 plus 10, age 30 to 44 minus 8, and age 45 to 64 plus 5, and 65 and older got a plus 20. And that's a YouGov poll from the 28th of February through today, March the 1st, and there's 2,671 adults that were surveyed. So it looks like that there is net support for it, even though that 40 and 31 doesn't quite add to 100. I'm sure that the extras were probably undecided, I would assume. And from Yehuda Trilbaum, the acting supreme leader of Iran is now Ayatollah Ali Reza Arafi. Here's him in 2019 leading the crowd chanting death to America, death to England, death to the hypocrites and the infidels, death to Israel. I don't think he's going to last very long. Look, and again, this isn't an official account. Not even sure if that's true. This is the only place that I saw this individual being labeled as the new leader of Iran. So I guess, again, as always, just take it with a grain of salt, despite that it got over 8,000 likes. Maybe it's true, maybe, but I didn't see this anywhere else, so I'm just saying.
سید مقاومت گفت ما با فرزند امام حسین و ولی فقیه زمان پیمان می‌بندیم که با او تا پایان کار خواهیم بود. ملت ایران نمازگزاران جمعه عزاداران.
How do we know he wasn't one of the 40 that was killed, though? Could have been.
سید مقاومت سخنشان آن است که ما با امام و رهبرمان تا پایان کار و تا ذلت استکبار خواهیم ماند و همراه سید مقاومت میگوییم ما با تو ای رهبر بزرگ عالم اسلام تا پایان کار
Okay, well, we get the idea. All right. We'll just move on to the next. U.S. Homeland Security news. Update: Iran has multiple secret underground bases stocked with ballistic and cruise missiles. This war may take a while. However, we did get reports from Central Command where they took out a large ballistic missile site where they were storing ballistic missiles. This very well could be the same site, although I'm sure that they have more than one of these sites. Maybe we took out all of them. I don't know. But let's have a look at this. Again, there's always the question of AI. Maybe it's AI, maybe it's not. imamedia.org. Not familiar, but that's up in the top left. Oh shit, I'm sorry, I was muted. My bad. Yeah, I'm just gonna cut it there because they're just showing just, missiles and missiles underground. I mean, we get the idea, right? Okay, so moving on to David J. Harris Jr. Guest on Piers Morgan shuts down David Smith's claim that only Israel wants this war. It is perfectly possible for multiple people to align in a shared goal. It isn't just the Iranian people. It isn't just the Israeli people. If you do not eliminate the Islamic regime, you end up in a forever war that ultimately implicates the U.S. And so if you don't want a war, you take out this regime. Let's have a look at this on Piers Morgan.
Who want this war are Israel and the Israel lobby, essentially.
That's not true.
Elika, I can see you frowning there, Elika. What's your response?
I will say real quick that it is kind of wild to see the how would you word it? The MAGA faction just cracking. It would seem like, not, I wouldn't say that it's crumbling, but it's definitely fracturing. That there's a lot of Trump supporters that are taking a pretty negative stance on this because one of Trump's campaign messages was no new wars. And that's what a lot of them are standing on. Like, that's the hill that I'm assuming he's standing on, that Trump said no new wars, and he's got to stand by it. And then, of course, attacking Iran. Look, if it doesn't go on for months on end, if it's something that maybe like might last a week or a couple of weeks, if they end up toppling the Iranian regime, people take back Iran, I would see that as overall a very good thing. But it's just interesting to see because he's not the only one. There's quite a lot of people that I've been seeing on social media. Another one being the Hodge twins, if you're familiar with them. They've taken a very negative stance toward this operation against Iran.
Dave Smith.
First of all, the idea that Israel wants this war and therefore that negates everything else in the universe just proves that this anti-Zionist ideology makes Israel the sun around which they orbit. And when they orbit Israel like the sun, nothing else exists to them anymore. It is perfectly possible for multiple people to align in a shared goal. Of course, Israel wants this war. Why would Israel not want to take out a regime that has been terrorizing them through their proxies, not just for the past 2 years, but for the past decades? Of course, it is in Israel's interest, as it should be, because why wouldn't you want a terrorist state that has an eschatological vision of eliminating you for justice to arrive on earth to be eliminated? Okay, yes, we all understand it is Israel's
especially
goal,
when most Iranians are not even Muslim.
Okay? Second of all, the Iranian people also have their own sovereignty, their own national interests in mind, and those are aligned goals. Now, it isn't just the Iranian people, it isn't just the Israeli people. If you do not eliminate the Islamic regime, you end up in a forever war that ultimately implicates the US. And so if you don't want war, you take out this regime. You said you could do diplomacy with the regime all of these years. You tried to do the JCPOA, you tried to do this Obama-style diplomacy, and then what happened down the line? Their proxies just kept getting stronger. They continued to do their attacks all over the Middle East. They did October 7th, and what happened when October 7th happened was that Israel had to go to war with Hamas, and guess what? The US had to be implicated to defend its ally. So if you don't want a forever war, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever, you have to eliminate the source of the forever war.
I mean, it seems reasonable, right?
You have to eliminate the people who make war inevitable. Israel has only ever responded to the
Cenk Uygur, he wants to take out Israel, huh?
And to go even further, it was actually
of course
very popular at the time to say no to war with Germany, to say no to war with the Nazis. But guess what? All of those deaths that ensued, those were deaths that were made inevitable by the Nazis because they were relentless. You had the Peace for Our Time, the Munich Agreement, where everyone was like, finally, we're going to have peace. Then they invaded Poland, and you can see these people who are ideological extremists will always inevitably pull the entire world into war. So if you are anti-war, fantastic. Let's eliminate this regime so there's no more wars and no more threats to the United States and the rest of the world.
Of course, Cenk Uygur keeps saying, Israel. We got to take out Israel. Yeah, because the Iranian regime, of course, that they're not pro-war or death to America and all that. All right. Anyway, so Niz Nelly 3. There are currently 6,694 foreign students from China studying at Columbia University. Several of them are members of CUAD, or COD, or however you pronounce that, Columbia University Apartheid Divest. This is a radical pro-Hamas, pro-terror student organization. They're tweeting death to America now. Uh-oh. So Marg Bar America, I'm assuming that means death to America. And they've got an image of them. So they don't say that there's 7,000 or 6,700 of them. They're just saying that there's several of them that are a part of this radical pro-Hamas group, which, yeah, is definitely concerning. I would assume that they're probably on some watch list. Okay, from Sovi, it was never about Iran or Venezuela. It's about weakening China, and it's brilliant. China's economic ascent is tethered to a critical vulnerability, its reliance on foreign oil. Importing over 70% of its oil, China depends heavily on a few key suppliers. This reliance creates a strategic opportunity for the U.S. By influencing Iran and Venezuela, two of the world's top holders of oil reserves, the U.S. can exert direct or indirect influence over their trade partnerships, thereby tightening China's energy supply. Key points: Venezuela ranked first globally, holding around 17-18% of the world's proven oil reserves. Saudi Arabia ranked second, holding 15-16 of global reserves. Though an ally, their reserves are pivotal. Iran ranked third, holding around 12% of the world's proven oil reserves. Combined, these three countries hold 45% of the world's proven oil reserves. Strategic moves with a broader aim. While the public narrative focuses on removing dictators, curbing drug trafficking, and neutralizing Iran's nuclear threat, the overarching strategy is clear. Ensuring these nations are not under the influence of U.S. adversaries limits China's ability to secure its energy needs. Take Venezuela. Yes, drug trafficking into the U.S. is a serious issue, but Mexico remains the primary corridor for narcotics entering America, and China has played a documented role in supplying precursor chemicals that fuel the fentanyl crisis. Neither country faced comparable military intervention. If drugs were the sole driver, the strategic map would look very different. Now consider Iran. Here we go. Stopping nuclear proliferation is a legitimate national security objective, yet North Korea already possesses nuclear weapons and continues advancing its missile capabilities. The U.S. has not pursued direct regime removal there. The difference is not the level of authoritarianism or even the nuclear threat. The difference is strategic energy leverage. The strategic foresight is what makes the move consequential. By focusing on two nations that sit atop massive oil reserves and that have served as energy lifelines to China, the U.S. does more than remove hostile regimes. It reshapes global energy influence. The effect is subtle but powerful. Direct control is not required. Influence over leadership, trade policy, or export alignment can be enough to alter who benefits from nearly half of the world's proven oil reserves. While the world debates the immediate justifications for U.S. actions in Iran and Venezuela, the broader picture reveals a calculated effort to weaken America's primary competitor. Removing dictators matters, stopping drug pipelines matters, containing nuclear threats matters, but the main plot is strategic pressure on China. And seen through that lens, the move is not reckless, it is deliberate, and it is brilliant. Look, I think that was pretty well said, actually. The world's biggest crude oil reserves by country, crude oil reserves in billions of barrels. And yeah, I mean, look, when you look at that, I mean, it seems pretty evident as to, why we are not only going after Iran, but why we work to liberate Venezuela, in addition to, of course, Maduro being a narco-terrorist and having a $50 million bounty on his head said enough on its own. But of course, these countries certainly stand out a lot in the Middle East, which Iraq, Iran, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Libya, and then of course there's Venezuela, the US, Canada, and so on. So yeah, man, big players in the world's crude oil industry. All right, moving on to the next one. Yeah, here we go. Shaira Mishra on a train in Tehran today. A morality police officer tried to intimidate young women for not wearing a hijab. This time, they weren't alone. The other women in the carriage stood up, chanting "Death to Khamenei," until the officer was ejected amid applause. Wow. Holy moly. I'm assuming the woman with the job was the one who was the morality police, which was ejected from the train. So, you know, times appear to be a-changing in Iran. This is Sasha Sabhani, the son of a leader of Iran's IRGC. This is from Clear Patriot, by the way. While Iranians are forced to live under strict rules, executions, and fear, he gets to live freely in Morocco, attending luxury parties with no hijab for his wife, no morality police, and no consequences. Now, if the lady in this video is truly his wife, then oh my God. Like, talk about rules for thee, not for me. But she's showing her midriff and everything. What a douchebag. He has a freaking LA Dodgers freaking hat on too. That's hilarious. Unreal. Okay. Yep, he doesn't get to live, or doesn't have to live by the rules. Anyway, Rep. Anna Paulina Luna, how Iran was before communism merged with Sharia law and took over in 1979. Be aware, America, we must never tolerate any form of Sharia law. I have a feeling that music, maybe it's copyrighted, maybe not. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna risk it. Anyway, I'll just let my background music play. There you go. Because that's not copyrighted. As we watch the footage from prior to 1979. Assuming that was the Shah, or Crown Prince, or what have you. Man, Ron used to be real nice back in the day. Even had a nightlife. Look at that. Probably similar to Cuba, too. Before that revolution happened. Sure, it was quite the average or swanky type of society back then. All right, there we go. And we will roll on to the next. I think I have another one related to this. History lesson: leftist plus Marxist plus Islam equals Iran, from Lazi B. And it goes on to say, after Islam took over Iran, the leftists and Marxists that helped the Muslims were killed. The exact same thing is happening in the West now. The useful idiots on the left have teamed up with Islam. Leftists are digging their own graves and are putting us all in danger. Iran, secular leftists, Marxists, liberals, and Islamists all helped overthrow the Shah. But after the revolution, Islamists under Ayatollah Khamenei consolidated power. They eliminated their former allies. Leftist forces in Iran contributed to the 1979 Islamic Revolution by forming a tactical anti-imperialist alliance with religious factions against the Western-backed Shah, often prioritizing anti-capitalist, anti-American goals over secular concerns. By mobilizing against the regime, secular leftists unwittingly empowered Khamenei clerical forces who subsequently consolidated power and suppressed their former leftist allies. Leftists, along with intellectuals, supported the revolution, believing that clerical forces could be managed or that they would be part of a coalition government despite ideological differences. Once the Islamic regime was established, Ayatollah Khamenei and his followers quickly moved to suppress the secular leftists, branding them as Western-influenced or apostates, consolidating a strict state-mandated Islamic identity and killing opposition. Learn history. Marxism and communism is Jewish ideology and it equals self. All right, whatever. I don't even know what that's all about. But young leftist women in 1979 holding up a picture of Ayatollah Khamenei. And there you go. Whether or not if that's 100% absolutely true, I mean, I can't say definitively that it was. Anyway, I guess I'll just let you be the judge. And if it is, then just drop it in the comment. I'll read it. All right, so Blue Lives Matter. This is a chilling must-watch. Here's an Iranian man warning that Sharia law starts with unity between the left and Islamists. Very important to keep your eyes open. Decades ago in Iran, we saw the same alliance between the left and Islam that is happening in the West, and it's exactly how Iran became an Islamic theocracy. Repost for widespread exposure. See, dude, I think that's exactly what the Democrats are intending on doing. Like, they are the Islamists, not saying that they are literally Islamists, but they're adjacent to that. I think that's exactly where they want things to go. They just want to seize power and never let it go. And I think by their determination to not only nuke the filibuster themselves, but also pack the Supreme Court, I think that appears to be quite evident that that's exactly what they intend on doing.
I'm a political refugee from Iran. I've been to prison. I've been under Islamic law. And I know how it starts and I know how it ends. And it always starts with the, for some reason, unity of left and Islamists, and it scares me. So I came here to be free. I chose Canada as my second home to be live in a free country. And I'm beginning to get really scared because the way things are going, it looks like they're going to basically appease Islamists just to not raise any ruckus or something. They're just going to appease them step by step, and they're not going to stop. They see it as a sign of weakness, so they're going to take more and more, and I'm against that. I believe Canada should be free, and freedom of speech is something that nobody can take.
Yeah, well, you know, and Democrats definitely align with the Islamists. I mean, they're definitely pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, pro all of that nonsense. And Guthrie Eagleman fact-checked Barack Obama shipped $1.7 billion in cash to Iran, pallet stacked high, flown straight to Tehran right before he left office. I remember this. Obama funded the evil regime in Iran with our tax money. Treason.
Obama left office, he sent $1.7 billion in cash to Iran. The money was delivered in
it was part of the nuclear deal, wasn't it?
On pallets and flown into the country.
Hard
it
currency.
In January 2016, when Obama authorized the transfer of the money to the nation known for sponsoring terrorism. The funds were allegedly part of a long-standing financial obligation stemming from a pre-1979 agreement. Prior to the Iranian Revolution, the United States had committed to supplying Iran with military...
Yeah, but wait a minute. Pre-1979, wouldn't that mean that that the current regime who was not in power in 1979, that they wouldn't be entitled to it? That it would be the Shah or whatever government that was in place pre-1979? Wouldn't it be them who would be entitled to it, not the current regime that just lords over Iran now?
However, following the revolution, the transaction was abandoned, leaving Iran to claim reimbursement for the $400 million initially paid. With the accrued interest, this amount spiked to $1.7 billion. The Obama administration decided to resolve the debt. On January 17th of 2016, an aircraft arrived in Iran carrying $400 million in cash loaded onto pallets. The remaining balance of the $1.7 billion was delivered in subsequent shipments. Now, as Israel continues its attacks on Iranian nuclear
It's your tax money, by the way.
sites, President Donald Trump is deciding how involved the United States will become in this war. Many pointing straight back to Obama as the reason Iran had the funding to continue paying for terror and start building up their nuclear programs.
Yeah, while the left keeps accusing Trump of enriching himself, which, by the way, in his first administration, his net worth dropped. He lost his net worth by a sizable margin. On the other hand, you got Obama that's handing like actual terrorist regimes billions of dollars of our tax money. Lovely. And from Radio Genoa, Cubans ask Trump to bomb Cuba. What?
Trump, te necesitamos. Ahora toca Cuba. Eres el único con cojones en el mundo para darnos la libertad. Venezuela libre, Irán libre, y ahora por Cuba libre.
All right. Yeah, they're like, when's it going to be our turn? Well, you know, it could be at hand. That's, from what I've read, that's why our military fleet remains down in the Southern Caribbean. I mean, also just to keep an eye on Venezuela, make sure everything goes okay and that there's not any, crazy things that pop off. But apparently they're also there because we're supposedly in talks with Cuba. So I don't know. If everything goes well with Iran and if it gets liberated and the people return, or they have Iran return to the people, maybe we will see something like that playing out in Cuba. I mean, I don't know, man. I guess the Democrats, they just cannot have so much winning all the time. All right, Gina Milan, Democrats, Trump bombing Iran was unconstitutional. Also, Democrats signing bombs with Zelensky. I like the hypocrisy. Of course, there's Zelensky right there. Bunch of lunatics. Literally signing bombs. For a war that we shouldn't have even had any part in. I mean, wow, this dude really wants to send a message, huh? What a dick. Okay, so that happened at some point in the past. Let's go BFLO. In response to attack in Iran, this leftist is calling for a violent revolution in the United States and wants her fellow comrades to make the necessary sacrifice of life for change in America. At the FBI, this insurrectionist needs the J6 treatment. Profile snapshot is in the comments.
Okay, I don't mean to fearmonger.
Oh yeah, by the way, with her being a far leftist, an American far leftist, viewer discretion is advised. She's probably going to use some awfully hateful and filthy, disgusting language.
But why did I literally just see on the Iranian state TV a message come across saying that the United States is going to see something happen tonight that we will not forget for centuries to come? Why did I just see that?
Because they've been saying that for decades, lady.
As someone who swore an oath to protect the Constitution of this country and was willing to put my life on the line and die for this country at one point.
I'm not so sure I believe you.
This comes down to us. I need you to know that. This comes down to us.
Us who? Far leftists?
The people that we have elected to be in charge, to do the jobs that we want them to do for us, are not doing their jobs. And I need you all to understand that a lot of us are going to die in order for this to stop. And I need you to be prepared for that. I need you to understand that if you want change, that sacrifice has to be made, right? We know that when we swear an oath to
but not from you though, right? Oh, of course not.
That you are risking your life.
You have to sacrifice, not me.
For better change.
Not me. I've got stuff to live for.
We're brainwashed into believing while we're in the military. In order for anything to happen, and I mean seriously happen, it's going to take a lot of us sacrificing our lives for the betterment of our future. I need you to know that. I need you to understand that.
Okay. Well, at least you didn't use, hateful language, like not, F-bombs and whatnot. All right, so we got another one. This grungy lib POS amidst Trump helped rid the world of awful dictators, yet still wishes some foreign leader would send troops to America to do the same to our president. His leftist media, I'm assuming it meant to say this leftist media fed TDS is so severe he is actually calling for this. Profile screenshot below. All right, here we go.
I don't know much, but my military friends have told me that the people that the United States has taken out in terms of other world leaders, the people of those countries are more or less happy that those people are gone, which I guess is cool. Like, sweet. I'm glad that we were able to help get rid of your country's terrible leader and swoop in and do that. So, can someone please return the favor?
Oh, whatever, dude. That was stupid. Okay, so we got one, April Sparks. He's so angry with Trump voters. Is he really not seeing all of the TikTok videos and news coverage of Iranians celebrating, or is Trump derangement syndrome truly that blinding? Yeah, it is. I mean, they have completely lost their minds. Make asylums great again.
You fucking voters said no.
Okay, here's the hateful language.
That a Democrat would throw us
bad
into
words.
World War III. 50 school children are fucking dead because Israel and America bombed Iran.
Actually, the number was more than double that, I believe.
6 American bases were bombed. For what?
I think his hair says it all.
He said Americans would get hurt and killed, but we just gotta do it. Why?
Why do you care, dude? You're not over there.
Our citizens pay for the health care of our veterans. Instead, we're fucking killing Iranian children for nothing. I'm fucking tired, and I'm fucking angry, and I'm angry at you who fucking voted for this. We fucking told you.
Yeah, but they're voting for the exact people who want to turn America into what Iran has become, essentially. All right, guns are eaglemen happening now. Anti-ICE protesters are clashing with police right outside the Bishop Henry Whipple Federal Building in Minnesota. At noon, they have been instructed to head over to the No War in Iran protest a few miles down the road. Yeah, because they are exactly what we've been saying that they are for years at this point. They're all paid protesters. They're just paid to do whatever, and the ones who are not paid, they're essentially just brain dead NPC rabble. They just do whatever the hell that they're told to do. Okay, yeah, we'll go over there. Actually, it's the left who sympathizes with pedophiles. They don't want us to use those words anymore. They want us to use minor attracted persons. All right, well, I would have loved to have seen this video at noon for them to instantly pack up or flip their signs 180 degrees to like anti-America, pro-Iran, whatever, for them to to switch their stance immediately, because that's probably what they did in reality. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Anyway, I was never crazy about the idea of the U.S. attacking Iran militarily. I always feared that what it might look like, given Iran has a mountainous terrain and a population exceeding, 90 million people, a boots on the ground invasion like Iraq would probably be far more catastrophic. But this doesn't seem to be that type of war, at least not at the moment. The Trump administration appears to have the objective of bombing the hell out of the Iranian military and leadership over a short period of time. But the U.S. Central Command, they confirmed B-2 bombers annihilated a major ballistic missiles facility in Iran. We were taking out their defenses. There are reports of mass amounts of Iranian soldiers shaving their beards and fleeing into Afghanistan, although that hasn't been confirmed, at least not by the U.S. government or the military. The United States and Israel are working to quickly cripple the regime so the Iranian people can seize the country. The Iranian crown prince informed the Iranian people that their liberation is near. And when the Maduro regime fell virtually overnight, it opened a unique opportunity. Iran no longer had the Venezuelan money printer. They also there's also apparently negotiations between the U.S. and Cuba, which probably wouldn't fare well for the Iranian regime if it played out that way. Vladimir Putin, he made it clear last year that he has no intention on conflict with Israel because over 2 million Russians live in Israel. They reside there. The Iranian economy inflated over 150% last year. There were mass protests in December and January. Over 20,000 Iranians were killed fighting the regime, and the people are clearly ready. Iranians across the West they're gathering in celebration. The mainstream media is desperately trying to spin the narrative into hatred for Trump over his actions, but it doesn't seem to be working. Democrats are condemning the attack on Iran while calling for people to think of the innocent Iranian people. But just like Venezuela, Democrats are on the wrong side yet again. Iranian Americans and Iranians around the world, they're all celebrating. I mean, if this massive attack on the Iranian regime is swift and absolute, if this Ayatollah or the Iranian regime, the Islamic Republic, if they fall and the people of Iran are fully liberated, well, then I support that. If Iran and Venezuela join the world of freedom and liberty, I support it. However, only if the cost isn't too great. And by that, I mean the cost of thousands of American boots on the ground and a years-long quagmire like we saw in Afghanistan. So that's why I've always supported no new wars. However, if we fly in, completely kick their ass in every conceivable way, and complete our involvement in a short period of time, well, then I'm good with that. This operation, it's costing the American taxpayers billions of dollars, and American lives are being risked So let's just hope it was all worth it. But how are we going to know? If the Iranian people crush Islamic extremism and form a close alliance with America and our allies, then it probably was worth it. And if that date happens, Democrats will have one hell of a time defending their actions, their thoughts, and their demands. So anyway, I guess that's it. I'll just get off my soapbox. So if you enjoyed tonight's video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll be back tomorrow night as we explore the swamp Monday through Friday and everyone in it, the politicians, bureaucrats, the agencies, and the administration. Also, I post daily on X, which is where you can peek at the content for the next episode. And don't forget, the video clips from tonight will begin dropping on this channel tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern. And thank you very much for watching. Always remember to stay positive, and God bless the troops, and God bless America.